All throughout history, nations have always risen and then fell. Nothing's ever changed, and nothing will ever change. And all throughout history, there's always been an election, a, a spirit of stupidity over the nations, the cultures, over the masses, integration, immigration, and a whole bunch of other stuff that equates when people begin to intermarry with godlessness, when they begin to take hold of ways that were forbidden from times of old. They lost their way, and they basically became darkness. The very word civilization, which was always used throughout humankind, civilization. When people came together, and usually after catastrophe, World War II, nations, peoples, lands, they learned to rebuild. They joined together. It became industrious because they allowed civility. The golden rule where, Jesus says that love your neighbor as you would yourself. Do good to those who would do good unto you. When the nations who actually took on these roles and made God, the true and living God, Jesus, they worship Jesus. They believe in a God, the Bible. Those nations prosper all through history. I'm sure, and the thing is, what made it bad for the nations, of course, is the religious people, which are always the enemies of Christ. They were the ones who took charge and wanted to run the show. Well, they couldn't do a better job than the guy down the street who was humbled by life's experiences. But nations in general are destined to rise and fall. We are in a free fall. When you have people that basically so outwardly, blatantly, you couldn't be more obvious. It's so funny. Well, not funny. Funny isn't haha, but funny isn't wow. They actually march down the streets, which has never really ever been done throughout history. They go down the streets and they have a parade. And they parade their filth. And they call it pride. The obviousness of pride all throughout history. People knew that pride always equated a fall. These are all blatant signs. The lack of civility, the lack of neighborliness. Jesus says, because wickedness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. But this time that we're coming into, because of the nuclear weapons everywhere, he says, such will be a time that has never been, that unless those days be shortened, no flesh shall be saved. Now, that's serious. That's serious.